All right, so for my project of my leadership interview, I chose Robert Kendis, who is not the guy in the corner that would be a character from the show Blacklist, but they look very similar. So, why I chose Robert? Robert he's been an attorney in Cleveland forever. He's regarded as one of the best liability attorneys in the area. I've had another really reasons I chose him is I've had numerous conversations with him about the work he does and some of the cases he had. Some of his clients, for instance. I'll get to that in a later slide. But Bob's leadership, he or Robert has been I call him Bob. He's been working as a liability attorney for clients who are injured at work since 1969. So workers' comp, fall off a ladder, break your back, stuff like that. Since 1985. Sorry. Since 1985, Bob has ran his own private firm with his younger brother and one of their close childhood friends. But even though that there's since he started, he has two partners. They still work under him, and he's still the managing partner of the firm. And even the small amount of people play. So since the firm has grown, obviously they need more employees. So even though that I think that he said they only have 10 to 15 employees, he told me he doesn't treat them as that or see them as his employees. He sees them more as a family because of how small and compact they are. So Q&A is probably my favorite part of the interview. One of the questions I asked him that I found interesting was, why did you become an attorney? Why did you become an attorney? What was your original goal? And he went on this long rambling story about how he became an attorney because essentially during the Vietnam War or draft, if you were a college student or in school, you couldn't be drafted. So he was already out of school, but in order to not go to war, he went back and chose law school. Another question I asked him, which is my favorite, is what was the craziest injury case you've represented? And he laughed over the phone and told me that he represented this guy who worked for the RTA transit company. It's like electric trains in Cleveland. And I guess on two separate occasions he had got electrocuted, died at work, twice was revived, and that, in my opinion, is pretty crazy. So what did I learn? Probably the most important thing. I learned several things from Mr. Kendis, from how he runs and treats his employees, to how he treats every client with the same amount of respect. And mainly, he helped me further understand how to be a good and fair leader. After our talk, I was able to understand and compare how Mr. Kendis and his whole team lead and work when it comes to, or how they lead and work when it comes to their own field. Which I found very helpful, especially since I want to go into said field in the future. It was very helpful to learn how they operate in day to day and how he helps guide his employees to success. Towards the end of our interview or conversation, I asked him if he could go back and change anything, would he? And going back to the why he went to law school in the first place, he told me that before then he was a high school history teacher teaching seniors, and obviously the war happened, so, and he went back to school. But he said he wishes he never would have done that because he loved teaching history to kids far more than he loves being an attorney, which I found was quite interesting or odd since he's been an attorney for decades. Parallels. Concluding the interview led me to realize that Mr. Kendis operates his firm along with his attitude or personality, it or how he operates his firm pretty much directly aligns with his attitude and personality. It aligns with the theory I think it aligns with the most in the textbook. Well, there's two, but the one is the leader-driven theory. It, he has a very good way of roping you in and making you listen and actually pay attention. So I think that itself is a great representation of how a leader should be. He also treats everyone fair and honest. But the other parallel I thought was the follower-centered theory, because since he talks in such a charismatic and like old man sort of witty way, he's able to grab your attention, and you can't help but follow him essentially, and follow his lead at the end of the day. So that's the second theory or parallel from the book that I thought directly aligned with him. In conclusion, I think this project was very informative and definitely a new experience, as I'm used to being the one across the table or on the other end of the camera answering the questions. This interview allowed me to expand my understandings of how to be an effective leader, and I think this project really allowed me to receive firsthand experience from such a highly regarded person in the field of work I want to go into and how to be a productive leader in the real world. This project allowed me to, I had already known Mr. Kendis before, but after doing this project, it allowed me to build more of a professional relationship with him, and hopefully a new peer that can help me in the future when I want a career. Finally, this project definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, but more so in a good way. I think that asking important questions that actually mean something, where it was hard for me to do that in an interview since again I am used to being the one that sits across the table. But I am very thankful that Robert Kendis allowed me to interview him and took time out of his day to help me do my school project. So thank you.